All Elite Wrestling presented a special St. Patrick's Day Slam episode at Dynamite on Wednesday. A show headlined by an unsanctioned lights-out match between Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, and Thunder Rosa. The first women's main event in the show's history capped off a broadcast that featured the first battle between Cody Rhodes and Penta El Zero Miedo, a big 10-man tag team match, and Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston's first-time partnership in an AEW ring. What went down? Who emerged victorious? And what does it mean for a company already focusing on the Double or Nothing pay-per-view on Sunday night, May the 30th? Find out now with this recap of AEW Dynamite. Hello, friends, and welcome to Wednesday Night Mayhem. I am Anthony Florio, sitting in tonight for good old MF Michael Fletcher. Work commitments beyond his control. So myself and the Phenom Michael Bullock, we're going to be running this show here tonight. Apologies for the delay. Had some issues that I had to, some computer issues here, but we're good to go here. So without any further ado, let's start it off with our first match of the night. It was Cody Rhodes squaring off against Penta El Zero Miedo. And when all was said and done, the winner of the match in 10 minutes and 25 seconds, Cody Rhodes, he wins the match. I'm going to give this about 3 stars. If Cody Rhodes' arm was as injured as it was, the idea of him being able to keep Penta down with a sunset flip is pretty far-fetched. Nitpicking aside, this was the perfect match to kick off tonight's show and a taste of things to come between Cody and Penta. The post-match attack suggests there will be a continuation of the program. That is a very good thing if the intention is to put Penta over. If not, let Cody move on to someone else who will not be damaged as a singles competitor with yet another loss to the American Nightmare. And an interesting development that happened after the match, QT Marshall came out late. And, the Nightmare family questioned him about it. And I think it's building towards a heel turn for him. I think he's going to turn on them eventually. So that's all I can say there. So solid 3 stars, solid way to start it off. So Michael Bullock, come on in. Cody Rhodes, Zero Miedo. Cody wins 10 minutes, 25 seconds.
Yeah, I'm gonna give this 3 stars. This was definitely a good way to start off the match portion of it, and I love what I saw from both of these men, and I got a feeling that this is far from over between Penta and Cody Rhodes, and QT Marshall coming out late, and the Rhodes family questioning him, so I smell a heel turn coming, definitely, Florio. So there's really nothing more to say. Let's move right along.
Okay. Next up, we had this is a cutout here, no doubt about this. Jade Cargill squashing Danny Jordan, squashed her in 1 minute and 18 seconds. So nothing really to say on that. That was a dud. That was the worst fight of the night, hands down. And
Michael Bullock not impressed with Jade Cargill.
Yeah, but, neither am I. But it was intended to showcase Cargill as the quote-unquote impressive physical specimen she is. It worked as she completely overwhelmed wrestling's resident mean girl Jordan en route to a short, compact victory. The tease of her feud with Red Velvet continuing was a nice touch and gives the women's division a secondary rivalry to tout, something it needs outside of the title picture. All right. MJF and his new faction, they're now known as the Pinnacle. You have MJF, you've got FTR, you got Wardlow, and you got Shawn Spears. And, of course, you also have the legendary Tully Blanchard serving as their manager, mouthpiece, advisor, whatever you want to call it. But Bullock, I mean, the Pinnacle. What do you think about it?
An interesting name, to say the very least, Florio. But MJF basically revealing his plan that has been going on for months. When it came to him joining the Inner Circle, that it was all a ruse, and that he to start his own faction, and that's what we saw last week, and how he was better than Chris Jericho. That's beyond debatable. Shall we say that, Florio?
Absolutely.
Yeah. But this is the cocky, arrogant son of a you know what that he is. But let's not forget, Florio. There's an old saying, and I've said it so many times. This is barring the late gorilla monsoon. Don't start something
you can't
that
finish.
you can't finish. And let's just say it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when the inner circle is going to come back and get their revenge. And it's going to be somewhere down the line. And I can tell you this, Florio, it's going to lead to a match between the inner circle and the Pinnacle. And I know one place that it's going to go down. Double or nothing.
Stadium Stampede 2?
Oh, Stadium Stampede 2. Yeah. I can definitely see that happening, no doubt. So,
I could
too. Yeah, I could definitely see that going down. So, yeah. So that little warning to you, MJF, you may have started something that you may not be able to finish. Florio, it is yours.
Well, it looked to me like MJF watched Triple H interviews from the early days of Evolution to prep for this. But all kidding aside, it is eerie how similar this was to one of those, and that was not necessarily a good thing. A typically excellent talker, this felt like a more cliche promo than usual. He ran down the lineup, made fun of Jericho's appearance, and revealed the Pinnacle name, but accomplished exactly nothing else beyond that. Some will prop this up as a great promo from the most talented young star in AEW, but he has delivered much better in lower profile situations. This felt a little too one-dimensional on a night when the company really needed to stick the landing after last week's show. But it was still a very good promo, to say the very least. So, moving on, we had a 10-man tag team matchup. The Bear Country and Jurassic Express teaming up against Matt Hardy, Private Party, Butcher and the Blade, and the heel team wins the match 7 minutes and 49 seconds. Matt Hardy with a twist of fate on Marco Stunt for the win. And I could probably give this about 2.5 stars here. I mean, this was fine for what it was, but somewhat of a letdown given the recent work of all involved. It was rather formulaic, but the right team went over, and Luchasaurus shined in defeat, so there's that. It's rather hard to get into the Hardy shtick right now when it feels like he might be the star who takes on every lost tag team or act in AEW, such as Butcher and Blade, who feel what it is. But solid 2.5 stars for me. Bullock, your thoughts?
Yeah, it was a solid 2.5, but to me, I think it could have been better. But it was a little bit of a letdown, but it was still good for what it was. I mean, I still don't know. I mean, if I can get behind this whole Matt Hardy gimmick that's being used right now, but it is what it is. So nothing else to say. Florio, let's move on.
We move on to a tag team matchup. Eddie Kingston and Jon Moxley, they teamed up against the Good Brothers. Winners of the match in 10 minutes and 15 seconds, Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston. Jon Moxley with the dreaded roll-up of doom on Carl Anderson for the win. So, Bullock, it looks like this rivalry is far from over here. The Good Brothers, I mean, it has not been a good few days for them. I mean, this past Saturday, they lost the Impact Wrestling World Tag Team Championships to David Finlay and Juice Robinson from New Japan Pro Wrestling. And now they taste another defeat to Kingston and Moxley. But the rivalry is far from over. Kenny Omega getting involved. The Young Bucks getting involved. Someone's got to give here.
Yeah, this rivalry is far from over, and like you said, it hasn't been a good week for the Good Brothers. Yeah, so as far as this match goes, I can give this about 3.25, maybe 3.5. I mean, this to me was a really good match here. I mean, I mean, this was more of a. I don't know about you, Florio, but this felt more like a brawl than a wrestling match with the way these two kept going at it, taking it to the outside and all that. But you know what? I'm actually quarter. I could give it 3.5, but the dreaded roll up of doom uh, took a little bit away from me from it. Still a good match though, but yeah, this rivalry's far from over, especially with Kenny Omega. And you saw the Young Bucks come out and they tried to get him to do the too sweet sign, but Young Bucks ain't having it, especially after that what Don Callis had to say about what happened to their father. Um, and oh, by the way, Florio, can somebody please shut the mouth of that pretty boy douchebag Don Callis? Gosh, I can't stand him. Uh, there's more I could. There's nothing more for me to say. Florio, go.
Yeah, Don Callis has been an annoying, you know what, ever since he was the Jackal in the WWF with the Truth Commission, and yeah, I mean, it's a good thing you don't follow Impact Wrestling, Bullock, because if you did, I don't think you would have approved of what Don Callis did last night to the undisputed Impact World Heavyweight Champion Rich Swann. I mean, even though the promo he cut was fantastic, but I mean, anywho, this was a 3-star match. It was an okay match, but the pre-match beatdown meant they left a lot in the tank for future encounters. It seems like they're setting up Moxley and the Bucks to take on Omega and the Good Brothers, but I'm wondering if that's another incoming swerve, given how AEW has been booked in recent months, and the Callis promo with the Bucks earlier in the night. Then Sting comes out, Sting and Darby Allin, an interview segment with Tony Schiavone, interrupted by Lance Archer and Jake the Snake Roberts, but two major developments packed into this promo. First was Lance Archer targeting Darby Allin, and then there was Brian Cage admitting his respect for Sting and consequently putting himself at odds with Taz and the rest of Team Taz. Allin versus Archer is a feud that any fan can get behind. Another example of the David versus Goliath formula that could strengthen the current champion or put his challenger over via dominant performance. Brian Cage stepping out from the rest of Team Taz and showing respect to Sting was a great touch and will hopefully lead to him breaking out and becoming the star he probably should have been since his debut at the Double or Nothing event last year. So Bullock, a quick comment on this?
Yeah, this is interesting when it comes to Brian Cage. I mean, showing respect for Sting. I mean, I don't know what this could mean. I mean, could this mean that he wants to leave Team Taz? I I really don't know. But as far as Archer and Darby Allin, I mean, that is the ultimate David versus Goliath. Something I definitely want to see. But yeah, so there's really nothing more to add to it. So let's move on, Florio.
All right. And then we move on to Ray Phoenix squaring off against Angelico. Winner of the match in 7 minutes and 37 seconds. Ray Phoenix, a la Justin Roberts. And you know how much I love it when he does that. So, yeah. So Bullock, a quick thought on this?
Um, 2.5 stars is my rating on the match. I mean, I thought it was a good match here. I mean, in the amount of time it did get. So, yeah, I mean, obviously it's a little bit of a build for when Phoenix and Pac get their shot at the AEW World Tag Team titles somewhere down the line. So, there's really nothing more to say. Florio, it is yours.
Yeah, 2.5 stars for me. Phoenix has been one of the most consistently excellent wrestlers in AEW. He has been simply phenomenal since day one, and this was no different. The match with Angelico was hindered by the commercial break in the middle of it, not to mention the lack of build to the match. It was essentially an extended squash, a showcase for Phoenix as he and Pac prepared for their upcoming AEW World Tag Team title match against the Young Bucks. It was harmless, above average, but not much more than that. Now to the main event of the evening. Unsanctioned, lights out match, anything goes. Thunder Rosa squaring off against Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. The winner of the match in 14 minutes and 58 seconds. Thunder Rosa wins the match. Okay. Now, it's been well documented on this show, and nobody more so than Bullock and I have been very critical of the women's division, for putting on, okay fights, whatever. Not tonight. Oh no. I'm gonna go on the record, and I am gonna say that this was not only the fight of the night tonight, but this was also, for my money as of right now, the greatest women's match in AEW history. 4.25 to 4.5 stars. Rosa versus Baker has been one of the most intense rivalries in AEW. Theirs was one that deserved the spotlight. In a hardcore match of this sort, and the competitors absolutely performed up to the moment. This was appropriately violent, even producing blood and thumbtacks, typically no-nos for women's wrestling in major North American promotions. Rosa may have won the match itself, but Baker was the real winner of the night's festivities, showing a level of toughness few would have expected from her. She sported the crimson mask, suffered the breathtaking agony of thumbtacks, stabbing into her back, and took a big table bump in the finish. She was simply phenomenal and elevated her star exponentially in this bout. More importantly than the quality of performances or the high spots within was what this match potentially means for AEW's women's division. For too long, the company has produced a division that had all of the talent necessary to succeed, but failed to build stars and tell stories. Then came Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa, a genuine secondary feud that proved AEW could focus on women outside of the title picture and efficiently build a storyline. It culminated tonight in a genuine match of the year candidate, and hopefully opens up opportunities for the extremely talented women's division to find more opportunities in the near future. Kudos to all involved in this one for their toughness, commitment to telling their story, and delivering the painstaking levels of violence and brutality the match type deserved. Unbelievable. 4.25 to 4.5 stars. Fight of the night. And Michael Bullock, tonight we witnessed the greatest women's match in the short history of all elite wrestling. Wow.
Yeah, definitely a wow on this one. I mean, 4.25, 4.5, definitely the fight of the night and the greatest women's match in AEW history. I mean, what can you say about them? Especially with Dr. Britt Baker with the bump she took tonight, and my oh my, with the thumbtacks, and my goodness, that bump she took on the ladder, my goodness gracious, that was something. So those women should definitely be commended for their job tonight. So yeah, there's really nothing more to say except Floria, let's now get into the overall thoughts on this edition of Dynamite.
And you started off.
All right. You had some all right, but obviously the fight everybody's talking about is the match, obviously, between Dr. Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa. So I'm gonna give this about maybe 7 out of 10. I think is the correct rating. I mean, at the main event match really put it over as a passable show, because if we didn't get it, if it weren't for this Florio, I think we could have given it lower than that. So 7 out of 10 for me. But like I said, this the main event really saved this show. So Florio, it is yours.
Yeah, definitely. Um, just give me 1 second here as I try to find my notes here. Um, Man alive, I mean, Bullock nailed it. I mean, the lights out, unsanctioned, Britt Baker, Thunder Roosevelt definitely saved this show here tonight. Because if we didn't have this match, then we probably would have been looking at a thumbs in the middle show. But but yeah, I mean, what an incredible match that was. I mean, I only wish that Meth was here because I would have loved to have gotten his thoughts on this. I mean, this is his style of match. Bullock and I, we're more into those 5-star Flair Steamboat classics, a la technical scientific wrestling. But once in a good while, we will definitely preach about a good hardcore match, and this was as good as it could get. I mean, Bullock is right. This was a 7 out of 10. The women's match far and away stole the damn show. Cody and Penta, I would say, was the second best fight of the night. And rounding out the top three would probably be Moxley and Kingston against the Good Brothers. But man, Bullock nailed it. It's a 7 out of 10. Now, this wasn't the strongest entry into the annals of AEW, and it wasn't for not trying. I mean, the first hour had 2 roll-ups and a squash, and it had the feeling of a Monday Night Raw almost. But then the second hour, much stronger, even if it suffered from just a little of the same from the first hour. Moxley had a roll up, and then we got back on track with Ray Phoenix doing what he does best, and the girls showing up and showing out. No one asked Britt and Rosa to have that bout, to bleed the way they bled and to end the show with a hell of a main event, but they damn sure did it. And it's a shame it wasn't an exclamation point on an amazing episode. It was instead an independent clause on a show whose first half was marred with mistakes, but they definitely saved it, and that's all I can say on that. So this was a 7 out of 10. Bullock nailed it right on the head. So not much more to say. Now we're gonna move on to Bullock's show, NXT, which if you didn't read the dirt sheets throughout this week, apparently there was a COVID outbreak and they had to do a lot of reshuffling with the card, I guess. So and it was because of that I was a little more into AEW this evening than I was with NXT. But but anyways, just waiting for my notes to come up here. Running a little slow. I mean, this week's episode of NXT featured appearances from several champions and a healthy mix of singles and tag team bouts. And but there was definitely some developments here with the big 2-night takeover coming up in a few weeks. And I know Bullock's going to be all over that. You better believe. So this week's episode featured appearances from several champions, a healthy mix of singles and tag team bouts from the men's and women's division. Jordan Devlin returned to NXT this week to establish himself as the rightful cruiserweight champion. He has been calling out Santos Escobar for weeks and was looking for a confrontation with the man he sees as an imposter champion. Newcomer Zoe Stark was back in action against Dakota Kai. The captain of Team Kick was not in a good mood after she and Raquel Gonzalez lost the NXT Women's Tag Team titles. The same night, they were awarded the belts and only held them for an hour, so she was looking to take out her frustration on Stark. We also saw Dexter Lumis face Austin Theory. The artist has been tormenting the Gargano clan for weeks, but after Johnny Gargano told Theory that Lumis insulted his abs, the battle was on. Breezango faced Raul Mendoza and Joaquin Wilde, and L.A. Knight, a.k.a. Eli Drake, made his in-ring debut after making his first appearance at the most recent TakeOver event last month, the Vengeance Day. So let's look at everything that happened on this edition of NXT. So we started it off with the match between Dexter Lumis and Austin Theory. And just give me a moment here as I get this up here. Come on. I know Dexter Lumis won the match. I just need to get the time of the fall here. Well, actually, Finn, I do apologize. Finn Balor actually started the show, and he was interrupted by Karrion Kross and Scarlett, and then Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch, the tag team champions, got involved, and they made a match for later tonight for the main event. NXT tag team titles on the line. Danny Burch and Oney Lorcan defending against NXT champion Finn Balor and Karrion Kross. And by the way, their title match is official. They will meet for the NXT championship as part of NXT TakeOver Stand and Deliver, the big 2-night takeover in a few weeks. So that's now official. But as far as what we saw at the start of this, I liked the intensity between Kross and Balor, but that was a strange way of getting to WWE's typical champion and challenger going for the tag titles. It made Lorcan and Burch look a little dopey for being manipulated by Scarlett, but it ultimately works for me because it didn't really conflict with anything we know about their characters. I wonder if this match was happened if this match would be happening if it wasn't for the reported COVID outbreak at the Performance Center. So there's that. Fine segment to start things off. So Michael Bullock, a tag title match later in the night with Kross and Balor against Lorcan and Burch. But more importantly, Balor and Kross, you wanted it, you got it. Take over, stand and deliver. Let's go.
Yeah, Kross is finally going to get his opportunity at the NXT Championship, a title that he never lost. And yeah, I mean, they had some heated words, and basically, Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch came out and said, "Hey, to us, Pete Dunne should be the rightful #1 contender." Little message to you guys: he had his opportunity, he lost. Back of the line, you go. So, and then Scarlett wanted Kross and Balor to face off against Lorcan and Burch for the tag team titles. Very interesting. How did it turn out? We'll have to find out later on. So, nothing more to say, Florio. Let's move right along.
Now we move on to the match with Dexter Lumis and Austin Theory. Dexter Lumis wins the match, 9 minutes and 35 seconds. Michael Bullock, your thoughts?
I thought it was a fine match for what it was. 2.5 stars is my rating. I mean, it could have been better, but it is what it is. I hope they can move on from this whole Dexter Lumis being involved against the Way. So there's really nothing more to say. Florio, it's yours.
2.5 to 3 for me. It's hard to tell what we are supposed to feel by watching the story unfold. Should we feel bad for Theory, or are we supposed to be on Lumis's side? Should we hope they unite against Gargano at some point? The messaging has been inconsistent, to say the least. The match was good and let both guys show off their athleticism. It wasn't a barn burner, but it was a good start to what is sure to be a feud that gives us a handful of matches in the coming weeks. Lumis is an interesting character, but it sometimes feels like WWE doesn't know what to do with him. As for Theory, he has his upsides, but his current gimmick of being Gargano's slightly dim lackey isn't doing him any favors. 2.5 to 3 for that. Then we had an in-ring segment. Adam Cole, cuts a scathing promo on Kyle O'Reilly, but then he was interrupted by Mr. Regal, and Mr. Regal comes out and he said that Kyle O'Reilly was banned from the building, and then O'Reilly appeared on the big screen, and Cole approached Regal on the ramp, and so wow, that's all there is to say on that. And then we saw Shotzi Blackheart and Ember Moon. They were shown posing for photos with Shotzi's father. And next week, Ember Moon and Shotzi Blackheart will have their first NXT Women's Tag Team title defense against Aaliyah and Jessie Kamea from the Robert Stone brand. Yeah, that's not going to end well. Then we had a tag team matchup, Breezango squaring off against Joaquin Wilde and Raul Mendoza. Wilde and Mendoza, they win the match 9 minutes and 50 seconds. And then after the match, Michael Bullock, Jordan Devlin shows up. He finally got to confront Santos Escobar. And it looks to me like at TakeOver Stand and Deliver, Escobar, Devlin, for the right to be called the undisputed NXT Cruiserweight Champion. Whoa, Michael Bullock, what do we think about all this?
I'm up for that. As far as this match goes, I'm gonna give this another 2.5 for the effort here. But yeah, Jordan Devlin finally shows up at NXT and calls out Santos Escobar and calls him a fake cruiserweight champion, and with that, what he likes to call a toy replica cruiserweight title. And Santos Escobar said, "All right, how about we face off where you and me to find out who the rightful cruiserweight champion is." And like you said, I think it's going to go down and TakeOver Stand and Deliver, where Jordan Devlin and Santos Escobar will face off to determine who will be the undisputed NXT Cruiserweight Champion. So, nothing else to say, Florio. It is yours.
Yeah. I'll give this about 3 stars for the effort. I mean, it was a fun, energetic tag team match. All 4 men involved looked great, and the lack of interference from Escobar was a refreshing change from how heel teams are usually booked. Wilde and Mendoza often play second fiddle to Escobar, so it was nice to see them get a win on their own for once. Tyler Breeze looked especially crisp in the ring this week. He is a great technical wrestler who is often overlooked because of his comedic gimmick. He and Fandango can get just as physical as anyone else. Escobar and Devlin will have a good performance when they eventually battle for the Cruiserweight title. It'll be interesting to see if WWE adds a special stipulation, but, it is what it is. Solid 3 stars there. And then from there, we had Dakota Kai with Raquel Gonzalez squaring off against Zoe Stark. And Dakota Kai wins the match in 12 minutes and 35 seconds. This started as a relatively normal bout. They locked up, traded some standard moves, and sold for each other. The second half is when everything started to click. Both women used just about every trick they had up their sleeves to turn this into one of the better singles matches either competitor has had in quite some time. Kai is always a reliable performer, so seeing her step up was no surprise. This was a breakout performance for Stark and will likely lead to her getting a lot more screen time in the coming weeks. I'm going to give that 3.5 stars. But hold the phone, another development. Io Shirai then comes out, and Shirai came out with a contract, and she gave it to Raquel Gonzalez and says she wants to defend the NXT Women's title against Raquel Gonzalez. You would have to imagine it's got to be TakeOver Stand and Deliver. So if that's the case, oh boy. So I'm going to give this 3.5 stars. So Michael Bullock, very good match between Stark and Kai. But how about your women's champion coming out and picking her poison? She wants Raquel Gonzalez.
Yeah, 3.5 stars. I mean, Zoe Stark continues to impress me. I mean, what she's done in her first two matches over here in NXT, and yeah, and of course, the shocker. I mean, Io Shirai comes out with a contract that she wants to face Raquel Gonzalez, and I think it's going to happen, like you said at Takeover. And and you know what, Florio? I know it's early, but I'm going to go on the record of saying this, and I think you know where I'm going.
New champ?
Yeah, damn right. I think we're going to have a new champ.
I've
Raquel
been calling for
Gonzalez
that.
is going to end the reign of Io Shirai because
I've been
I think
calling
it's
for that too.
about time. Yeah, exactly. I mean, they've been pushing Raquel Gonzalez, and I think it's high time she becomes the NXT Women's Champion, and it's going to happen at Takeover. It's yours.
And if they should do that, then EO's run would end at a little over 10 months. So, which is a great run. No question about that. Um, even though it's nowhere near the run that Asuka and or Shayna Baszler had when they held the title in the past. That's why I still consider them the two greatest and most dominant NXT champions. But Io Shirai is right up there, no doubt about that. So we'll have to wait and see. So all right. Then we had Tommaso Ciampa squaring off against Marcel Bartel of Imperium. Tommaso Ciampa won the match 4 minutes and 35 seconds. But wait, what's this? Walter. Whoa. Walter shows up and whoa, my goodness. Bullock obviously not much of a match, but another big development, another newsworthy development. The longest NXT UK champion, 712 days and counting. Walter. Oh boy.
Yeah, I think NXT has been put on notice. Uh, yeah, you got Walter now arriving in NXT, and yeah, and now with him there, I'm gonna tell you this, Florio. I think Imperium is gonna really reign supreme in in NXT. So yeah, the match I'm not even gonna rate because it was a short match. But yeah, Walter in NXT. Oh man, I can't wait to see what happens with that. So it's yours, Florio.
I'm actually going to give the match about 2 to 2.5 because it was, like we always like to say, a fun little sprint. I mean, we don't get to see Bartel compete in singles matches often. It was nice to see him get a chance to show off his skills without having to give a partner equal time. This was a physical bout with a lot to like. It was a little on the short side, but they had to leave time for Walter's return, so it wasn't like this was a throwaway segment. A potential feud between Walter and Tommaso Ciampa. Take over, stand and deliver. You book that son of a gun. We want to see it. That would be a hell of a match. That's got show stealer potential. So that's all there is to say there. So then we had William Regal rushing to a police scene outside the building. Kyle O'Reilly was being placed in the back of a squad car, and Adam Cole was handcuffed while yelling that O'Reilly will pay. Yeah, that feud took a big turn. We're gonna get that at Takeover Stand and Deliver, and that's gonna steal the damn show. That's what we already know. Okay, and then we had the highly anticipated debut of L.A. Knight, aka Eli Drake, for all of you Impact Wrestling fans out there. And yes, Eli Drake, he went up against, or I should say, L.A. Knight went up against August Gray, and of course, LA Knight won the match 2 minutes and 25 seconds. This was the kind of match you would expect for a new talent. Knight looked dominant and picked up a quick victory. And what made this slightly different was the use of Bronson Reed. And WWE doesn't always put new talents right into feuds. It lets them get a few wins under their belt before putting them into a storyline. And WWE is having Drake start a feud, or I should say, Knight start a feud with Reed immediately. So management must see something in him. So, so that's all there is to say on that. But Michael Bullock, I know the match was, whatever, but this was the first time that you got to see LA Knight wrestle. I've seen him wrestle a zillion times when he was in Impact Wrestling, former Impact Wrestling World Heavyweight Champion, host of one of the greatest talk show segments in history, The Fact of Life, especially when he would hit that dummy button and say, dummy, yeah. And he certainly made August Gray look like a dummy, yeah, here tonight. So Michael Bullock, you don't have to rate the match or anything, but I'm very curious. What did you think of LA Knight, considering this was your first time seeing him after I've seen him a gazillion times in TNA?
I think this was I'm impressed with him. I mean, I know it was his first match, but yeah, I'm already impressed with him. I can't wait to see how much more what we can expect of him. So I'm really impressed with him, Florio. So yeah, there's really nothing more for me to say.
Yeah, I had a feeling you would be. So okay. And that leads us into the main event. The NXT World Tag Team Championships on the line. Champions Danny Burch and Oney Lorcan defending against NXT champion Finn Balor and Karrion Kross. Scarlett right there. Winners of the match in an even 11 minutes. And still the NXT Tag Team Champions Danny Burch and Oney Lorcan. Michael Bullock, what happened here, one of those guys, and Scarlett ended up getting hurt in the process. And when that happens, that's going to piss Karrion Kross off. And oh boy, he was pissed, and he took it out on Finn Balor, and it ended up costing them the match. So Bullock, note to Finn Balor, whether it was accidental or not, if Scarlett gets hurt in any way, Karrion Kross is going to be after your ass. TikTok.
Yeah, Karrion Kross is going to be after your ass if you mess with his woman, Scarlett. And
he took it out on Finn Balor. You saw what he did to him. Oof.
Oh, yeah, he did. And this is why, to me, Florio, I'd rather stay on Karrion Kross's good side and make sure nothing happened to Scarlett. So I would not end up like what we saw with Finn Balor. So as far as the match goes, I'm going to give this 3 stars for the effort here. So, yeah, I mean, after the match, Karrion Kross continued his beating on Finn Balor, but also took out Oney Lorcan as well. So let's just say, both sides weren't safe from Karrion Kross. So yeah, nothing more to say. Florio, it's yours, and I hope you would stay on Karrion Kross's good side, especially when it comes to the beautiful Scarlett.
One little correction: it was Danny Burch who got hurt, not Oney Lorcan, but this was a good way to keep Kross and Balor together without forcing them into some kind of match against each other before TakeOver. Hopefully, Danny Burch is not injured and it was just a minor issue. He and Oney Lorcan are great as tag team champions, and it would be a shame if an injury derailed their momentum. This was a decent main event, but it was nowhere near the best thing we saw all night. You have to give that honor to Dakota Kai and Zoe Stark. So a solid 3, teetering on 3.25 for that. So that's really all there is to say. So that will before we put the bow on it, we have one last order of business, and that is our overall thoughts on this edition of NXT. And let me see, what do I have here? I would say a slight win to AEW here, because I'm going to give this about a 6.5 for this show tonight. Dakota Kai and Zoe Stark, that was definitely the fight of the night. Not the best of episodes this week. I know there was the COVID outbreak that caused several changes, and they still did some interesting things like Walter's arrival, but it's just that no match really was must see. They did move forward or set up a few angles though, mainly for Takeover. The cruiserweight situation with Santos Escobar and Jordan Devlin, the women, with Io Shirai, wanting to go up against Raquel Gonzalez, Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly. Something big's going to happen with those two. Mr. Regal says he's going to have some sort of solution about that next week. We'll see. And obviously Finn Balor and Karrion Kross, especially after what happened there in the main event. So there were some newsworthy moments, but I got to say AEW was the slight winner this week, mainly because of that epic match with Thunder Rosa and Dr. Britt Baker. So 6.5 for me. Bullock put a bow on it.
Yeah, 6.5 for me as well. I agree. I got to give the slight edge to AEW for this week. I mean, it was an okay show, but you got to give NXT credit for what they tried to do tonight. I mean, especially with the COVID outbreak there, but I'm pretty sure once that outbreak is over, things will be back to what it was. So, yeah, 6.5 for me. So, Florio put a bow on it.
All right, and we will do indeed just that. So, Bullock, I hope you had fun. Well, okay. So with that being said, that will put the bow on this edition of Wednesday Night Mayhem. We want to thank you all so very much for tuning in. We will be back with you tomorrow night, right back here on the Tone 25 for another edition of Strictly Sports. Drew Brees announcing his retirement from the NFL. We're going to talk about only the notable NFL free agent signings. I mean, it's been a free agent frenzy, obviously. A lot of transactions have gone down, but we'll only get into the notable stuff. The NHL going back to ESPN, and then we will also recap the first 4 of the NCAA tournament, because the first 4 games go down tomorrow, and that'll be all from that. So, and then Friday, of course, Cerebral Smack Talk. MF should be back. We'll be back on his channel, Brees Fan 95, as we will run down the Friday Night SmackDown, the big matchup with Edge and Jey Uso. The winner will be the enforcer for the Daniel Bryan Roman Reigns Universal Title match at Fastlane, and we'll also preview the Fastlane pay-per-view as well. And then Sunday night following Fastlane will be our recap, and then do it all again with Ridiculously Raw next week. So that's it. So until tomorrow night for Strictly Sports, it's Anthony Florio sitting in tonight for good old MF Michael Fletcher. On behalf of my panel, the aforementioned good old MF Michael Fletcher, Michael Bullock, Twisted Angel, Didi Woodson, and of course, always and forever, FKG 401, Derek Forever. You know the routine, everybody. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah, throw it up Fortune 4 style. Bye for now, my friends. God bless. Be good to each other. Have a blessed Thursday. And until tomorrow night for Strictly Sports, you've been watching Wednesday Night Mayhem right here on the Tone 25 on YouTube and StreamYard.com. And remember, my friends, no matter what anyone tells you, wrestling is indeed, beyond anything else, wrestling is indeed actually real. For everybody who's been a part of this one, for now, I think play so long. Bye, everybody. Bye.